Run-up to this year's general election, political parties continue to butter up voters with promises of a better Britain. However, it seems that not everyone is interested. A new survey has revealed just how fed up young people are with the country's current political system, and David Cameron certainly won't be happy with the findings. It shows that more than 1 in 8 have already decided not to vote this May, and some even say that they are planning on spoiling their ballot. The group's lack of interest was clear when asked about their knowledge on UK politics, as over half of the over 18-year-olds to 30-year-olds admitted not knowing the name of their local MP. And when it came down to what's important, the most critical issue for the age group was the economy, followed by immigration and then health. And it seems that Miliband was the winner among the potential voters, as over 20% said Labour was their party of choice. Well, joining me now to discuss this is Jamie Stanley. He's founder of None of the Above UK. Now, that's a campaign group fighting to give voters the right to indicate disapproval of all of the candidates in the political system. So, Jamie, this survey, does it surprise you that young people are actually quite disenfranchised with politics and not particularly enthusiastic about it?
Well, the findings don't surprise me, but I wouldn't say they're not enthusiastic about politics. It's easy to interpret these things as young people being apathetic, but I don't believe they are. And I think actually the fact that many of them said they would spoil the ballot paper rather than just not vote indicates that they actually are politically engaged. They just don't trust the electoral system and they don't feel that the parties represent them. So they're not really apathetic, they just don't feel represented. That's my view.
So do you reflect the interests of young voters then, your group? What do you offer, as it were?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we reflect the interests of all voters. I mean, essentially, if you can formally reject all that's on offer, then people that are disillusioned with the electoral process are no longer voiceless. And that applies to young people and old people alike. But this is the thing, if you actually are politically aware and active, doing petitions or campaigning or protesting or whatever, but you just don't trust the electoral process, then you ought to be able to voice that at the ballot box. And of course, having a formal way of doing that through another sub option would be the best way to do that.
Definitely. Yeah, but don't you have to vote for somebody in a democratic society? I mean, by simply not voting for anybody, you're not engaging at all, are you?
No, you are engaging. That's the thing. It's a common misconception. It's not actually abstaining. Abstaining is to just not vote, but that has no more effect than actually voting. And the reality is that, even if you feel there's a party that represents you, unless it's one of the big two, your vote is pretty much wasted. Our system ensures that only two basically corporately sponsored parties of big business ever really can call the shots in our system. And young people know that. They're not stupid. They're aware of that. They realise that that's a rigged game in the first place, so they get engaged in other ways. What we're saying is that you ought to be able to formally reject that system. It's not abstention, it's participating. It's a positive participatory step to be able to formally reject all that's on offer if you feel that it doesn't represent you. And the sooner we have it, the better. And maybe we can get some of these young people actually more engaged and involved in the electoral process as well, and then they'll actually have a voice.
And politicians should be engaging really with the younger voter then. They're completely missing the point.
Absolutely, they should be engaging with all voters, but certainly young people as well. I mean, why would they not? I mean, in fact, there's a good reason why they don't, because the electoral system that we have ensures that the older demographics that they do target can actually carry the vote and actually get the same parties in time and time again. So that's actually why they actually choose to ignore the young people. But young people aren't stupid, like I said, and they are actively involved, but we need to be able to express this at the ballot box as well.
All right, just what sort of support are you going to get for this? People expressing the sentiment at the ballot box with none of the above?
It's interesting. It's a shame that they didn't actually ask some of these young people explicitly if they would vote none of the above if they could. In a similar survey carried out by a UK tabloid paper recently, of 18 to 22-year-olds, actually 21% of them said that they definitely would vote none of the above if they could, and 49% of them said they would consider it if they could. That's 70% of that particular survey. The Select Committee, who recently did a survey of all age groups, had asked a specific question about none of the above and should it be on the ballot box, and 71.8% of around 16,000 respondents said yes, it should be. So I think it's clear that there's definitely demand for it. That committee has actually recommended that the next government hold a consultation solely on inclusion of NOTA on ballot papers in the next government. So clearly there's demand for it, and it's getting harder and harder to actually argue against having this on the ballot paper, frankly.
Jamie Stanley, thank you very much indeed for joining us on RT UK.
Thank you very much.